Hello everyone, welcome to Talk HR UK from me, Simon Geere at Alexander Lloyd. This is Season 2, Episode 11, and today we are touching on the topic of creating a values-based organisation. Joining me on the podcast is Sam Geis. Sam, at time of recording, is the People Director at Fraser Nash and has since been appointed internally to the VP and People Partner of GS International, part of KBR. So all change, all go, but Sam and I had a great conversation recently regarding creating a values-based organisation, and she was happy to share some of the initiatives she's implemented at Fraser Nash, part of KBR. So I do hope you enjoy the podcast, and I'll catch up with you at the other end. Welcome to Talk HR UK. Today I'm talking to Sam Geis, People Director at Fraser Nash Consultancy. Now, Fraser Nash are a global organisation with sites all across the UK and Australia. Sam is based in Surrey, and I guess we describe them as an engineering and technology-based consultancy. Recently acquired by KBR, who I used to work with many years ago, also based in Surrey, and again, another large global international technology organisation. So an organisation that's been through a lot of change. Sam's seen that in her time at Fraser Nash. And today we've agreed to talk about the concept of a values-based organisation. So welcome aboard, Sam. Lovely to have you.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Excellent. So in your opinion, starting off, what would you say is a values-based organisation?
So yes, to kind of frame this is very much my opinion, kind of based on my experience over the last, I dare say, kind of 25 years. But it is organisations that have values really at the heart of what they do. So that's at the heart of their strategy planning process. It aligns with their company purpose. Actually, kind of it is a fundamental within that, and it really does inform the actions and the focus of the business. So for me, then they're not words on a page or kind of a poster on the wall. They really are at the heart of that decision-making process. They are understood across the business. And as I said, they do drive actions and also behaviours. The behaviours piece for me is one of those key elements, because very much the behaviours are what brings values to life. And for me as well, it's something that is authentic. So yes, so that for me in summary is a values-based organisation.
Thank you. Are you ready to continue?
I am ready to continue, yes.
Excellent. So, well, Sam, one of the things I really enjoyed, or was really pleased that you picked this topic when we were having our discussions about what to talk about, is that it links so much to culture, which is what everyone's talking about now. And there's an awful lot in the press about, HR's impact on culture. In fact, my next podcast is all about that. But currently, what sort of sectors, organisations or examples are you seeing of organisations that are perhaps doing a really great job of appearing as a value-based organisation, or even the opposite? What do you see from an HR perspective?
Okay, so I won't wander into culture, but I will look forward to listening to your next podcast. Some industries I think have it kind of much easier in this space. So for an example, for me, I picked the World Wildlife Fund, because I'm quite passionate about what they do, but they're also quite local to me. And they have values of courage, integrity, respect and collaboration. And by simply what they do and my kind of interactions with them, and I can personally quickly think about how they would bring those to life. I don't need to go and read their website or take kind of lots of positive kind of action steps to understand their values and what they could potentially mean. On the other hand, I think some other organisations, kind of us, for example, Fraser Nash, for example, have to do more to really bring to life and demonstrate their values to the outside world. And I'm saying the outside world because I'm thinking about it from a recruitment point of view right now, but also this equally applies within the organisation. And for me, that's where the authenticity is. When you asked me this question, or kind of when these were sent through, I was having a think about a clip that I'd watched from Simon Sinek that was The Rise of Selfishness. And I think he released that just over a year ago. And it was a short clip. Kind of, we were knee deep in the pandemic at that point in time. And actually, it really resonated for me that how organisations through the 80s and 90s had gone through an evolution and had become very much more shareholder focused. So really being driven by financials. And again, absolutely organisations have to be commercial in what they do. But that overriding principle had, in my view, really come to the forefront in businesses. I think we are moving into a different space, and I think in some ways we're already in that different space now, where actually bringing back that people focus, rightly so, is where organisations are really looking to build that sense. We as Fraser-Nash, we have 4 core values. We care, we're trusted, we deliver success, and we do things that matter. And we're conscious that we need to have a balance across those 4 values. As a board, we do look at it regularly. Last Friday morning, actually, we ran a reflection session on our purpose, vision, values and behaviours. Are they all still working for us? Are we bringing those to life? What do they actually mean? And for example, our value of we care, these were launched, we refreshed our values and launched them on the 8th of March 2020. I remember it because it's International Women's Day and was also about 2 weeks before we all went into absolute lockdown. So cool. Timing wise, I see we were very fortunate.
Like with it worked out.
Oh, really did. But having that value of we care to really be able to lean into at that point in time, it had been there previously, but that's when I talk about really bringing the values to life. We were able to demonstrate that, have that as part of our language as we kind of moved through a fairly tough couple of years. And really putting our people at the heart of our business was a real strength for us as we went through the pandemic. I would also say as well, our values as we went through the sale process, as you mentioned, there's actually kind of a really great alignment between the Fraser-Nash values and the KBR values. So again, when looking at that, and I know that that is something that KBR also hold very strong, the values of the organisation, and it is part of the thought process. So again, I think there is a real strength in that and having values that align.
Excellent. Makes perfect sense. Excuse me. So linking this round, and you sort of started talking about this a little already, but it obviously sits, or there's an argument to say a lot of this sits with HR, which, you know, all roads end up leading to HR, don't they? It seems to be the way of the world. We're very popular people. But how do you think HR can help an organisation to become a values-based organisation? I mean, what have you seen? What have you done since joining Fraser-Nash, for example?
For me, this is we have a role kind of within our function to help create, but it definitely needs to be in partnership with our people and also kind of our people in the leadership space as well. So I think for me it's multifaceted. It's not something that is kind of driven or imposed by an HR team. So at the end of 2019, values were being kind of taken a look at that point in time, and we were looking to incorporate trust into it, which again, from a pandemic point of view, everybody moving to working from home, having that we trust our people to work autonomously, do what they need to do to be able to deliver success. the timing again was just great. We'd gone through a employee survey with Great Place to Work. So again, we were able to take feedback from our people, because one of the clear elements that came through from that was that we needed to bring our values to life. I've always seen that purpose, vision, values and behaviours are intrinsically linked. And I would say there was a fair amount of work, a number of times I did keep saying and behaviours, because that was a new way of looking at it within the organisation. So we worked to define the behaviours in collaboration with our people. So again, we were able to build those together. We also incorporated a good look at diversity and inclusion as we were building those behaviours too. And those 4 combined have given a really good platform and are understood, communicated, and yes, kind of, so from a team perspective, those are some of the things we were able to do as that initial putting in place, and then it comes to the bringing it to life that makes the difference.
Well, you make it sound very easy. It just happened.
I would say kind of I will probably give a shout out a few times within this. I have an awesome team who are absolutely passionate in this space as well. I was able to recruit in an engagement and communication specialist. Again, I would say she started 3 weeks before the pandemic. So yes, so having somebody with specialist experience to guide us around engagement and communication has really benefited us.
Excellent, that's good to know. So I suppose the obvious question for me on this is, what were the challenges in trying to do this? You know, because you can't all have been plain sailing. What mistakes might some organisations make when trying to move an organisation towards a values-based point of view?
So they need to, but I'll come back to the point that they need to be authentic, and this is where I know our board believe in the values 110%. So I think if you are trying to create values and they're not authentic to the organisation and the people within it, I think that's where it will trip over. That's where they then simply become kind of words on a page. It's around that authenticity. It's around living them through we ran town halls as we moved into the pandemic. We were able to run them for staff. We kind of took that step into teams and used technology to be able to engage people all of the way through, and we're able to share stories, and that really did help bring the values to life. And as I said, I think for me it is that where they are just kind of words on a page or on a wall, I think that's one of the mistakes. And as well, it's around keeping that balance, so keeping a check on them. We say we use our values as guide rails, so when we're looking to do different things, we reflect back and say, okay, so where does this align? What's this about? Is this about doing things that matter? Is this about delivering success for our customers? And actually, if it's something we're thinking of doing, and we do this within the HR team, if we are running, say, a conference, we will use our values to guide the activities we are going to do in that conference. And actually, if there's something we're thinking of and it doesn't fit within that, then we'll park it and say, okay, actually, this is, we want to deliver against our values, and it is that it's always in our thought process and in our language.
That's excellent. So you almost use it as a framework for how you operate, both functionally within HR, but also, as you say, across the wider business. And I love the point you make about it coming from the top, you know, outside of HR, as you say, it needs for that authenticity and not just words on the page. It needs to come from business leaders.
Yes, yeah. And this is for me as well, where we've got more work that I definitely want to do to be able to bring our values to life for talent that is going to be looking to join and understand Fraser Nash as a business, because again, it is that internally we've built it into a number of our practices. How do we reflect to the external world? Because I said we're not a World Wildlife Fund. How do we share that message with the external world to help them understand that we are a values-led organisation?
Oh, definitely. And I was almost going to answer the next question myself, actually, because I was thinking thought process, and I was like, oh, this relates to that. But my job here is to ask you rather than go the other way. So, bearing in mind what you've just said about the importance of this, particularly if you're not a global well-known brand who, it's gone without saying, why do you think it's so important for organizations now to have that clear, relatable purpose? Why is it so important in this day and age?
So I think there's been that step change. So I think, as I said, Simon Sinek's video, when that landed, that was a point. I think we're almost a year through the global pandemic. And I think that there has been that more seismic shift. I think we're already on that pathway. And I think purpose-led, values-led organisations were starting to come to the forefront. I think there's been a massive global reflection on where we are. Life just changed for us all, absolutely and completely. And I think how organisations have worked through the pandemic and where they are now, and the overall purpose for businesses, people are selecting on that basis. This then kind of could wander down to another podcast, which I'm sure you're going to do at another point in time on the employee value proposition. So it is that meaningful work, I think, that really matters for people, is something that we're looking for. And I read stuff that kind of puts this within the millennial camp. I would say I have seen this extends, it's multi-generational. So I think it is important for lots of people now. So I think it's had that step change.
I completely agree. It's actually what I was going to say earlier. We used to look at this as the territory of, as you say, the millennial and being very values driven. But I think the examples our kids have set and their thought process coupled with the pandemic, it's made us all feel like that, hasn't it? We now all want to ensure there's a way for us to feel proud about where we work and what we're doing, not just about making money and turning the handle kind of thing.
It's also why I'm sitting here talking to you, because actually I feel very fortunate that I work in an organisation where the values do align with my values. I do almost that stick of rock cut me through the middle, and I think you could probably see them, and it's important to me as well. So I think kind of that's where I say that it is multi-generational, and it inspires me to just keep doing more. And I know it inspires my team and it inspires our people.
Definitely. So staying with that sort of last point really around EVP, are there any specific changes you're seeing in the industry and the market, possibly even your own organisation, where as an HR director, you're seeing that, there's new generations entering the workforce? What do we need to do specifically now to appeal to this modern thinking, I suppose?
So actually in some conversations this morning about this, we have a next generation advisory committee that we put in place just over a year ago now. And we want to tap into their thinking as we go through kind of different review processes. Today was a kind of looking at strategy and scenario planning, because we see that they will help us stay relevant. So there are lots of different experiences, and again, I can now kind of wander into diversity and inclusion. I'm sure there's a podcast on that one too. But diversity of thought is absolutely imperative and so important for businesses, and actually attracting through and thinking about bringing a diversity into organisations to help bring through that diversity of thought, so we can then give better solutions for our customers. But that is an important part of an EVP as well. So as I said, the conversation I was having this morning was around, actually, if organisations want to attract in this space, it's important to be able to clearly articulate activities, what is going on. So the EVP, I think, is much broader sustainability, where organisations are on their journey to net zero. So these are very different things to what used to be. You pay, do you get a company car, how many days holiday do you have? Those elements are still important, but there are other things that have come through that need to be balanced within that as well. And it's still evolving.
Oh, definitely. And I know from talking to your colleagues in the talent acquisition team, you guys are growing significantly. There's that huge growth curve, and you've got to, as you say, in this very challenging market of attracting talent and winning that skill set and knowledge away from other organisations, you've got to have a great offering.
Yeah.
It's got to be a great place to work. So, but it really sounds like you're doing a great job. That's the important thing. It sounds like you've thought this through. You've got some really interesting. I liked the forum you were just talking about. So a good sounding board to making sure you are staying, relevant, if you like, with the thinking. I just think you've done an awful lot.
Yeah. Oh look, and there is definitely more we need to do. So bringing to life our behaviours is something that we are going to spend more time and attention on. So recognising and celebrating those positive demonstration of behaviours is, as I said, something that we haven't quite got to yet. So I will hold my hand up. It's not all sorted. We've got a quarterly process, so we moved away from annual appraisals, have focused much more into the conversations, and again, those are aligned to kind of our values and our competency framework. So we've got that piece sorted. We now want to look at how we celebrate, and then on the flip side of that, because there is always a flip side, we've partnered with the CIPD and we have a masterclass around challenging conversations, because actually we do also need to address when the behaviours aren't demonstrated kind of in the best way. So there is that balance. We are an HR team, so we need to think through all elements and aspects of this.
Definitely. And it sounds like the value system you've created is running through everything that happens in your organisation and is underpinning your culture, and that's a great thing to hear. Hey, thank you so much for giving up your time and participating. It's really lovely to talk to you and hear all about your views on values-based organisations. I wish you the best of luck with the things that are coming down the line.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Sam Geis there, People Director from Fraser Nash. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening to Season 2, Episode 11 with myself, Simon Geere, and Samantha Geis. Thanks to Sam so much for giving up your time on this podcast. I do really appreciate your effort here. All previous episodes are available on the Alexander Lloyd YouTube channel or to listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Obviously, I'll be publicising the podcast on LinkedIn, so hopefully you can find us. Please do like and subscribe. As always, I'm Simon Geere. I work for Alexander Lloyd. We are your HR recruitment specialists in the southeast of the UK, and I hope to see you next time. Many thanks.